something special happens to someone who manages to win people's hearts. When they pass away, the mortal creature, the body, disappears together with all the vices, the foes and the ghosts, but the myth remains. The symbol of a football in which players were still emblems for their teams, and those were mirrors of the virtues and vices of their cities. An icon that continues and will continue to excite supporters all around the world. This is what Diego Armando Maradona was for Naples, the Argentinians, and Paolo Sorrentino. In this video, we will analyze the motivations that led the Neapolitan director to realize his latest movie, È stata la mano di Dio, in English, The Hand of God, and we will try to understand why an Argentinian footballer turned his life and that of an entire city upside down. To understand the Maradona phenomenon, one has to take into account the Italian social situation in the 80s. In fact, during those times, there was, and unfortunately still is, a huge economic disparity between the northern and southern Italian regions. In brief, those differences were caused by multiple reasons throughout centuries, but they were even worsened since the unification of Italy, because political reforms favored the development of large industries in northern Italy, because of its geographical proximity to the rest of Europe, while the southern regions were seen as more distant and strategically disadvantaged, and suffered from underdevelopment. Over time, this situation led to great migrations towards the north, further impoverishing the south. Director Gianni Amelio, in The Way We Laughed, narrates perfectly all the drama and prejudices that a family from the south suffered after moving to the north in search of a better job. Treated as second-class citizens, they were accused of being dirty, of being mafiosi, and of stealing the work from northern Italians. Because of these reasons, the wealthier northern Italy, renowned for its fashion industry, manufacturing, and big ports, was therefore seen as an enemy rather than an ally. The subsequent feeling of social revenge was even more intense in sports, and especially in football. Everything changed when a certain someone arrived in Naples on the 5th of July 1984. That person was Diego Armando Maradona. Football is the most popular sport worldwide because it can convey a universal dream, that of achieving fame and money after having learned to play in the streets of the poorest towns and countries, hoping to get out of poverty with one's talent and a ball at their feet. In turn, for those who watch it, football is an opportunity to forget the difficulties of everyday life, and regardless of social class and the final result, to create a sense of belonging, the deep identification of entire populations with a team. And in the case of Naples, in one person, Maradona. The question arises spontaneously. Why Maradona and not someone else? The answer is that the fans did not fall in love with the established champion from Barcelona, but with a child who played in the mud in the poorest suburbs of Buenos Aires, whose greatest dream was to win a World Cup. Naples, the edge of Italy and Europe, became one with Maradona because they had a common story. Extreme economic difficulties, crime, social prejudices, and neglect by political institutions. With his moves on the field, and especially with his statements outside of it, Maradona gave Naples a voice, accusing the political leaderships of doing nothing to improve the city's situation and treating Neapolitans as second-class citizens. Moreover, hostile to any form of control, he took very strong positions that made him even more adored and worshipped. Famous is the episode in which he played in a no-full field in the outskirts of Naples to raise funds to save the life of a young boy, and preferred to pay a hefty fine to the Napoli football club rather than giving up. Maradona's great strength was that he was always able to find a common opponent. In Italy, the great enemies were the capitalistic northern regions, the source of the country's financial power, symbolically represented by teams such as Milan and Inter, and above all by Juventus, accused several times by Maradona of manipulating the results of the matches. At the international level, instead, the enemy was the hated England, which represented for Maradona the fiercest imperialism, defeated with the famous Hand of God in the quarter-finals of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. On that occasion, El Pibe de Oro claimed that victory was an act of revenge wanted by God after the debacle in the War of the Falkland Islands, which Argentinians considered part of their country. Therefore, Maradona represented the redemption of entire populations that, thanks to him, gained great visibility at the international level. Under his charismatic leadership, Napoli became the first team in southern Italy to win 2 Italian championships and 1 UEFA Cup. He also refused several times the millionaire offers of the major European and Italian clubs. This was because living for money meant betraying the promise made to the Neapolitan people, namely not to give in to the powerful, but to give joy to the inhabitants of the city he considered his second home. His affection could be seen on the pitch through his respect for his opponents and through a style of play that was impossible to replicate and drove the fans crazy. Supporters went to the stadium just for him, and he was there only to entertain them.
È un'emozione che noi ogni anno veniamo, facciamo I sacrifici per il Napoli, è un'emozione che proviamo, una cosa che siamo troppo felici. Siamo felicissimi. Il Napoli non ha mai il primo posto, non abbiamo provato queste cose che stiamo provando adesso.
Unfortunately, not all that glitters is gold, and a complete merging with another reality leads to embracing even its dark and evil features. Maradona absorbed everything without restraint and rationality. His close ties to the Camorra, his uncontrolled private life, and his addiction to alcohol and drugs led him into a vortex from which he could never recover. It is impossible to fully describe what Maradona meant to Neapolitans. Sorrentino, who has paid tribute to him on several occasions during his career, citing him in films and TV series, says that his love for El Pibe de Oro saved him from a cruel fate that took his parents away when he was 16. So Naples becomes the city of miracles, and Diego is the man chosen by God to dispense them. When the man died in November 2020, the flame of the myth, already very strong, became a blaze, which makes Maradona live again in the merry murals around the world, in the suburbs, in the hearts of millions of supporters who just by seeing him forgot all their problems. This is because Diego prevented them from feeling defeated and useless, but thanks to him they were able to cultivate the dream of knocking down, at least on the football pitch, the powerful people who for too long had mocked, discriminated and humiliated them.
Maradona non si può parlare male, perché chi si parla male, si parla di Maradona, si parla male di Dio. Dio non si può nominare perché al di sopra di...
For Sorrentino and all the fans all over the world, Maradona will always be El Pibe de Oro, the hero that despite his humble origins was able to defeat the rich and powerful thanks only to his talent received directly from the hand of God. We hope you like this video. Let us know in the comments what are your thoughts. What do you think of Maradona? Are you willing to watch Paolo Sorrentino's The End of God? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Ciao a tutti.